Ugh, woke up from a series of nightmares. And it was actually nightmares where the wife had come back to me and I was on some kind of weird march across like a desert roadway. And I was at first by myself, then for some reason me and another comrade, another soldier or wherever I was, it was some weird dream. Pseudo nightmare about being back in the army or some kind of unit, some kind of thing. We had to march across 12 miles of desert, and there were these houses. And there was one vacant house, and so we ended up staying in that house. And I wanted to leave right away because evidently I was going to fly a plane out of the desert the next day. So I wanted to make good time. But the other dude, he wanted to stay. Then the dream gets weird and it goes to where the wife is with me, the ex-wife is back with me, and I'm trying to sleep because I got to fly that plane in the morning. And part of me is like glad we're back together, right? Kind of. But then all the things that used to trouble me before that she took for granted or overlooked or put on me like it was my fault, my problem. Like she had all the grandkids, all the older kids over. They were staying over. And one of my stepdaughters it's like early in the morning. One of the stepdaughters in the dream, she's cooking in the kitchen and banging pots, and they're all loud and just, I can't sleep. It's like that used to be a common thing. I couldn't sleep, and I had like this big thing I had to do tomorrow. Like that's how it was with me anyway. I had to drive tankers in real life and work 12-plus-hour days and all the rest of it, and there was this constant inflow of people in our house. So that same stress was in my dream, and I was just like, it was like a panic thing, and I was thinking, I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I didn't ask her to come back. She came back to me. I don't want her back in my life because I don't want all this stress back in my life. And she thought the house that I was in was my house. And so there was this assumption she was thinking that everything's going to be like normal once we patch things up. Everything's going to flow like before. I'm going to provide a house and a place for everybody. And I remember thinking in my dream, she didn't realize I don't have anything anymore. I don't have a house. I don't have an apartment. I don't want none of those things anymore. I don't want that stress in my life anymore. Because it's just things. I mean, you probably need a house over time, I guess, right? But I just didn't want all the stress that went with it. All the heaped on responsibility, no comprehension what it felt like to put yourself through them kind of days where you had lack of sleep all the time and you had to work those extreme days on a constant, and then you just and the home front had nobody that comprehended that or tried to. They overlooked it. They were stubborn, hard-headed, like didn't want to hurt their family, their extended family, their kids, their grandkids, but took you for granted and what you went through and the stress of it. Couldn't see what was written in my face and the terror I had of going up over the mountains in the wintertime and chaining up and all the things I had to do with no sleep. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I worked a 9 to 5 and went to a job and punched a clock and sat in a cubicle and was sleeping in a cubicle where nobody's life was at stake. My life and other people's lives around me were at stake on a daily when I went to work. Driving a tanker ain't no joke. Especially when you drive over Donner in the wintertime. It's no joke. And I just remember some times where she had everybody in the house for whatever reason. Either they had no place to go, or she'd bring them in. It could be her parents, it could be the kids, the grandkids. I mean, old night, old morning long, just freaking constant, at times. And it was a never-ending cycle. The door to our house was a revolving door. And I kept getting older, and then my back went out, and I just saw the writing on the wall. I was going to die in this marriage. And I was dying, actually, so it was just like no comprehension of what she was putting me through at any point in time. She had us selling houses on a constant basis. We'd moved about a dozen times in 20 years. We'd owned 5 houses and another 5 or 6 apartments. That's 10, 11, 12. I don't know. It's something like it. It's about 10 times, I guess it was. But it was like 5 different houses. I had actually paid off a property, and it was only an hour and a half outside of town. And I was happy as hell. I had like a quarter acre. I was like, I don't have to work so hard anymore in my life. I went from stressful jobs and working only 4 days a week, and she couldn't see that I took all that pressure off myself. She couldn't stand being away from her kids in Sacramento, and it was only an hour and a half away. She didn't have to work, and she could spend as much time as she wanted, but she didn't want to do the drive. Didn't make any sense. So she pressured me, and after 2 years and a bad accident I got into on the highway, I said, okay, we can sell, and I'll get out of this job because it's killing me. I've had 2 head-ons in this tanker, and it's going to kill me one day. That's what I told her. Came back. She never got a job. I never got out of doing what I did for a living. And we went from apartments to houses eventually, and had a house with a cheap mortgage, and that wasn't enough for her. So we got a house that was like brand new. I ended up paying triple what I paid for the other house, the older house. And I was already in my 50s, and within a few months of buying that brand new house, tripling my mortgage and my expenses in my 50s, and having almost minimal retirement or anything else put away, my back went out. So it was time for that marriage to end. I don't think I would have made it past 60, to be honest. Anyway, that dream I had of us being back together, at times I'd come halfway out of it, and I'd think, oh, she's not here, so it's not real. But then I'd fall back to sleep, and she'd walk in the bedroom where I'm trying to sleep, and it'd be real. And I'd be like, oh no, it's real. And I was trying to tell her, you're the one that came back to me. I didn't ask you to come back, and she was getting hurt, and I remember thinking, I don't like to hurt her. Because I really did love her. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to see the pain in her at any point in time. But I was desperate. I wanted someone to feel what I was going through, feel what I was feeling. And she never could, never would. It's like she was real stubborn about life and her family. It's just like the husband didn't focus in her head like, this guy's got to get his rest. He's got to maintain what he's doing. It never factored in her head. All this stuff she put me through. All the properties we rented, all the properties we bought and sold, and no preparation for retirement. She was killing me. And my love for her was killing me. So I guess what I'm saying is the love part never ended. I love all the people I was ever in love with. I still have something in my heart for all of them. That doesn't just die necessarily, but something else replaces it. Some kind of like resentment coupled with the love, knowing you would never want to repeat that relationship ever again. But the love still remains. I still love her, but I know that it was an impossible relationship if I was ever going to be able to retire or have anything of my own as far as like peace of mind or some sort of maybe living in a van ain't stability, but when I woke up in it and realized that it was just a nightmare, me and her being back together, I was relieved. But this is a lonely life. And I think that's why I dream so much about being back with her, is because at the very least of that, despite everything else I just said, I wasn't lonely. And I did have a purpose. And now living this van life and living by myself, I feel like kind of lost. and without a purpose. But I know I don't want to repeat what I went through with her. I don't want to repeat that with her or anybody else. I don't want to put that much of myself in that, and I don't have the energy or time to do it. Approaching 58, I ain't got time for it. Now I just want to get to 62, take early retirement, and be done with work for the most part, or that idea of having to work all the time. I'd rather just be done with it. I don't know what's going to replace it exactly, but whether I'm going to be living in a van, living in the Philippines, or where, I really don't know. Well, nobody does. Nobody knows what their fate is at the very end, So, you got to take it one day at a time, I guess. I hate saying stuff like that, but that's the truth. All right, guys, I'm going to cut out. I'm parking next to an apartment complex. It's going to get hot here. Buildings around me. I'm going to drive down to a park in my little van. All right, guys, bye.